If you're in B2B tech sales or marketing, you already know something feels off, right? It feels broken. The old playbook, it just doesn't work anymore. Your teams are burning out and buyers feel a million miles away. Well, that's not just a feeling. It's a real crisis of relevance. And the numbers, they absolutely prove it. Let's dive in. Okay, let's start with a number that's pretty brutal. In just the past year, cold email reply rates have tanked by 27%. Think about that. More than a quarter of all that effort is just poof, evaporating into total silence. But honestly, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Because even when you do get through, when you actually start a real conversation, get this, a staggering 86% of B2B deals just stall out somewhere in the middle. These are promising deals that then just get stuck in this frustrating limbo, draining all your resources and your team's morale. And here is the final gut punch. For the few deals that actually make it across the finish line, 81% of buyers say they're unhappy with the vendor they chose. This isn't just a bad quarter, folks. This is a sign of a systemic failure to connect with and deliver real value. So what is going on here? Why does this feel like such an impossible uphill battle all of a sudden? Well, the answer isn't about just working harder or blasting out more emails. It's about a deep, fundamental disconnect between how we're trying to sell and how our buyers actually want to buy. And this disconnect, this is the absolute heart of the problem. Our source material gives it a name, and it's perfect: the crisis of relevance. It's probably the single biggest threat to B2B growth right now. Let's break down exactly what that means. So here's the crazy paradox, right? You're spending more money than ever on sales, on marketing, but your growth is actually going down. And the reason is painfully simple. The executives you're trying to reach have just tuned out. They've stopped listening. They don't care about your cool product features. They care about their business problems. Okay, so we've put a name to the problem. Now we have to ask, why? Why is this happening right now? The truth is, the traditional sales playbook isn't just a little outdated, it's actively working against you. And it's because of a few huge structural shifts in the market. It really comes down to these three massive forces. First, executive fatigue. Decision makers are getting thousands of digital pings a week. They've become absolute experts at hitting the delete button. Second, you're not selling to one person anymore. The consensus buying committee is the new reality, a big group of people who all need to agree. And third, too many of us are still stuck in what's called the feature-benefit fallacy. We talk about what our product does, not the specific business problem it actually solves. And, you'd think the answer is just more personalization, right? Wrong. And this is fascinating. Gartner found that for over half of B2B buyers, these clumsy, shallow personalization attempts actually create a negative experience. Just dropping someone's name and company into a template, it's not enough. It's obvious and it can do way more harm than good. So when faced with this, what do most companies do? They just double down on the same old broken tactics. More emails, more calls. That just makes buyers even more tired of hearing from you. Trying to write 1,000 perfect custom emails by hand? There's no way that can scale. These are just band-aids on a much, much deeper problem. All right, so if the old way is dead, where do we go from here? This isn't about some small tweak or a new buzzword. It's about a complete transformation, a whole new approach, and it's powered by something called applied AI. Now, the key word here is applied. This is not AI for the sake of AI. This is about using generative AI, the kind of AI that can create new text and analysis to solve one very specific, very painful business problem. How in the world do you create a deeply relevant, super customized message for every single buyer and do it at scale? So, how does this actually work? Well, this applied AI solution is built on a few key pillars, and it all starts with a brand new foundation, what we'll call the intelligence layer. This is all about going way, way deeper than the surface level data we're used to. So instead of just looking at basic stuff like company size, applied AI tools drink from a fire hose of unstructured data, things no human team could ever process. We're talking 10K filings, earnings call transcripts, press releases, all of it. From that, the AI builds a living, breathing profile of a company's real strategic priorities, pinpointing the exact metrics and pressure points they're obsessing over right now. And this just shows the difference so clearly. On the left, a salesperson takes a wild guess. Maybe they care about operational efficiency. It's so generic. But on the right, the AI knows, from listening to the chief financial officer's last earnings call, that their number one metric is improving their inventory turnover ratio. Now that is how you start a real conversation.
Okay, so once you have that deep, surgical insight, you have to know how to use it. And that brings us to the next piece of the puzzle, the translation engine. This is all about speaking the exact right language to every single person on that buying committee. Because you can't use a one-size-fits-all message. Think about it. Gen AI can take your one core value proposition and translate it for each stakeholder. So the CFO, the chief financial officer, gets a message about ROI and financial impact. The CTO, your chief technology officer, hears about security and easy integration. And the CMO, the chief marketing officer, sees how your solution will help them lower customer acquisition costs. It's the same solution, just translated into the language that each leader actually speaks. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of this whole thing, the shift to outcomes. Because this isn't really about a new tool. It's about a fundamental change in mindset for your entire go-to-market organization. When you combine that deep intelligence with that perfectly translated message, something really powerful happens. And this quote, it just says it all. You stop being just another vendor pushing a product. You become a partner. You become someone who has clearly done their homework and actually understands the buyer's world. At the end of the day, the culture of your entire go-to-market team, your GTM team, has to evolve. You have to move away from the self-centered, hey, look what we built conversation, and shift to a customer-obsessed one that says, here is the specific, measurable outcome you will achieve if you work with us. Look, this isn't some far-off future. This is happening right now. The companies that are embracing this applied AI approach aren't just boosting their metrics, they're completely realigning themselves with how modern businesses actually make decisions. The technology is the enabler, for sure, but the real change is a deep, strategic commitment to being relevant. So I'll leave you with one question to think about. Is your GTM approach built for that?